So my name is Janaki and I'm the CEO and founder at Janaki Holdings Limited. And at Janaki Holdings Limited, we give money, not free of charge, but we give credits. So for any emergent financial relief, we give you money to relieve you of the pressure of the finances, and also to support you. We also support businesses, we support different projects. You can always check us out at www.janakiholdings.com. Yes, so we get to meet here every Friday from 5:30 to 6. But I toned it down to 20 minutes, so from 5:30 to 5:50. And today we shall use, I'll share with you my last part of my money learning journey. If you've missed part 1, part 2, and the previous one we did last Friday of part 3, you can catch it on Janaki my YouTube. You can click on that bell so that when any video is uploaded, you can actually catch it, or you can watch it. And you can also subscribe, it's free of charge, so that you can learn and so that we can walk this journey together. So today's topic is quite an interesting one, and it's the last one of my money learning journey. Last week's was about how I transitioned from being informal, from doing business briefcase, to being formal, where every member of the public can actually just come to office without necessarily seeing me and actually is able to get the money. So you don't get to that level from nowhere. It's a gradual thing. So you grow into it, and you cannot support such a process, you cannot support such a step if your business is still operating briefcase, if your business is still running informally. I'll give you an example. You can imagine the owners of Stanbic. You know, there's Stanbic South Africa, Stanbic Uganda, Stanbic. And anyone can walk from Barara, from anywhere, to go to the bank and get a loan. It is not approved by the owner of the bank. So you can actually access money in the absentia. There are proper systems, things are running in the absentia. So if you're informal, you can actually not reach that level. That means all the time, every client has to go through you. That alone limits your growth. So that should give you a reason to look for the video that we did last Friday and understand how you can transition from being informal to being formal. Because if you not, first of all, you cannot scale up, you cannot grow, but also it is a cost on your end. If you have to see every client, you've not yet grown and you're not about to grow until you become intentional and make sure that not everyone who goes to your company should actually see you as the founder or the CEO or the MD. There has to be staff, there has to be proper systems, and the people should be able to serve you as much more as how the CEO would have served you, or even better, because they are competent in their areas. If you meet a customer relations person, he should be able to treat you very well than I would have treated you. Why? Because they are professionals in that area. And I might not be professional in the customer care. I might not be professional in marketing. So that's what it takes. And that's the instance of formalizing. That's the instance of formalizing. But then, for today's session, after I'd formalized, because I told you my formalization was after a push from my mentor. So let me not preempt. You can look up that video and watch it. That is part 3. So for today's part is what happened, or how my journey has been after the formalization. Yes, after registering, after everything, what next? What happened? So I'll share with you key 5 things that actually happened and are still happening. And I'll break them down in 3 words. Scale up, stability, scale up, and growth. Stability, scale up, and growth. So after formalizing, these are the 3 things that explain the aftermath of the formalization. I'll look at stability first. Now, stability is that even if I'm not there, after I'd formalized, even if I'm not there, you should be able to meet any of my staff, and they should be able to actually guide you through the loan application process, and you should be able to get money, minus even seeing me. Now, this is a plus because not everyone should see me. That's a weakness if it were happening. You should be able to be served, or even better, even when you've not seen me. You should be able to access our service. You can imagine if you had to see the owner of Capital Shoppers every time you're going to shop there, and he has to approve that you shop there or not. Because some of the people would be his enemies, but they are still buying from Capital Shoppers. They could be that they have issues, they're even in court, but they can still match to Capital Shoppers, and yet he's the owner, and they can still buy from there. Why? Because they don't have to interface with him. So if they need a product from Capital Shoppers, they definitely can go there and buy. So you can imagine if all the clients had to go through him to buy the products from Capital Shoppers, some of them would have said, you know what, this guy is, we're already battling in courts of the law. You cannot be making Mr. Plasma and then you come to my supermarket to buy from me. I'd kick you off. Same applies to our loan status. I would say, you know what, since we have some issues, personal issues or grudges, we cannot give you money. But if you qualify and you use the normal method, I should be in any way not be able to interfere with the process. I shouldn't be. Why? Because it is separate from me. So that defines the first concept of stability. There's some bit of stability that even when I'm not around, some things should be running. That even when I'm not in the country, work should be able to progress. Why? Because it is not rotating on me. It is not running just because I'm around. It is not moving just because I'm around. So that defines stability. Stability. So after formalizing, you have to be sure, or you can test whether you've benefited of the formalization by assessing the stability of your business. And this might not necessarily apply to money lending alone, but any other business. That even if the owner is not around, the business should be able to serve the clients that it is intended to serve. In my first part 1, I told you if the business is still serving you, it has not grown and it's not about to grow. You're doing that business to serve someone else. You do not start that supermarket to serve you alone because you can only consume enough. You cannot consume all the products that you import. Now, we cannot lend this money to ourselves alone. Yes, we could borrow, but we do not lend to ourselves alone. Meaning that we have to serve the public. We have to serve the people. Same applies to any business that you're running. It has to serve the people. So if it's not stable, that means you have to involve yourself all the time. Now you can imagine if you got sick, what would happen? That means the business will have to close because there's no one to serve. There are some things that they have to follow you on. What if you traveled? What if you still formally employed somewhere? The business should be able to run. So that is part of the stability that you get to benefit from when you formalize your business and it can run without you being there all the time. Now, point number 2 on the stability. This is what we did at Janaki Holdings Limited. So what we did is we put forward, or we developed a document called the Standard Operating Procedures. These are the guidelines that guide any new staff on how things should be running. That when a client comes, you speak to him or her like this, guide them like this, assess them like this, approve, and then the money is wired in this particular detail or account. So that's the standard operating procedures. In a way that even if you have your key staff and he has left, because staff go, they go and get greener pastures or better offers, and you cannot do away with it. But you can imagine if all the processes were rotating on one person and that person has left, and more so, the person has not even written down the procedures that you have to go through to serve the client. So what we did in the first place, we wrote what we call the standard operating procedures that guide you on how the loan is applied till the point of disbursal of the money. So that has to be there. Secondly, you cannot serve all the clients. You have to identify your niche. There are those who give money to people in the supermarkets. There are those who give money to people in the markets, open markets. There are those who give money, different categories. But we also have our niche. So we have to be clear that we can only serve clients who are in category A, B, C, D, who have the collateral, for example, who have the car, they can use the car logbook to actually get the money, who have the land title. Meaning that if a client comes and he says, you know what, I have a stall in the market, I would like you to give me money, Janaki Holdings might not serve him or her. Why? Because he does not fall in our niche. If the person comes and is a student and he wants to pledge the university ID or national ID for a loan, we might not be able to serve them. Why? Because given our niche, we cannot serve them. Why? Because we only serve clients that have the collateral. So until you define your niche, you're prone to spread yourself thin and you might actually get out of business. Because every money that comes out is a risk. So before you actually disburse it, you have to know how it's going to be recovered. Especially for new clients. At least for the clients that have come, because there's always the first time. So even the good client had the very first time. They didn't come as good the first time. So you have to approach them squarely until someone can build the trust and the credit rating, and then you can start giving them the privileges and the premiumness that they deserve. But someone does not come from the word go and he said, you know what, I can give you money, collateral free. I think you can invite me and I'll come for some as well from you. But that's not how business is meant to be running. That's not how business is meant to be running. So what we did is that in our part after formalization, we had to establish our niche. So we're going to serve this category of clients. A client has to have a collateral that can back up the amount of money that they want. Point number 3. We are created to grow. If you started with one staff, you're not going to die at one staff. If you started with 2 people, you're not going to stop at 2 people. So what happened at Janaki Holdings Limited, after stabilizing, after recruiting the staff, after running and testing with the public, because we first served, if you watch through part 1, part 2, I first served our workmates, the people I was working with, the people I knew, the close friends. Now, a person can come, even if I don't know about them, even if I'm not interacting with them, we can still serve them. So what we did is that, we have to grow. And what does growth entail? If you can have one branch and it's fully running without your involvement, then you look at how you can replicate that branch. That's why you see there are banks. For example, I gave you an example of Stanbic. There's Stanbic South Africa, there's Stanbic Kenya, there's Stanbic Tanzania, there's Stanbic Rwanda. So you can imagine the owner is somewhere chilling. But this thing has branches. Why? Because the guy can replicate the systems. The guy can replicate the things that they do. So what we did is that we have established systems. Now we have the liberty to replicate. So that is multiplication and growth. So you cannot grow, you cannot multiply. Even if you're operating a shop, if you have a wholesale shop, you can only multiply if you can replicate the steps that you go through to serve those clients where you're at, even when you're not around. If you establish your systems properly, that's when you can think of replicating. And that's when we started replicating. That's what informed the branch that we have now. We have a branch at Mulago Business Center because we've tested the system and we've tested that we can serve the public without even an involvement of a particular person or perhaps the MD or perhaps the manager, so and so. Now someone can come freely if they qualify and apply for a loan and access it. Now that is the point of multiplication and growth. Multiplication and growth. So you could be starting as of now, but you have to have the intention to grow to that level and beyond. Because if you can replicate yourself with one branch, that means you're going to get at a level where you can even have a branch in different countries. And it's you, the founder, it's you, the CEO, who has to be visionary enough to know what it is that you're looking at. You don't expect that from some of the staff to say, you know what, I think we need another branch. Say, you know what, I think we need Janaki Holdings Kenya. I think, you know what, I think we need Janaki Holdings Singapore. It is you, the CEO, who has to be visionary enough and even sell the vision to the staff. To know that if you fully establish your systems and based on the demand, if we reach A, B, C, D, then we should be able to replicate ourselves with another branch in Barra. We should be able to have another branch in Chiwoga. We should be able to have another branch, and that's the level we are at. But we didn't start at that. You have to make sure that your systems are fully tested and fully running and properly running, and then you can actually start thinking of multiplication and growth. Or else you might have to be playing in that league for some time until you can scale up. And that is the notion that you should be looking at. Because you're not serving you. That's the first thing, which I opened with. You're not serving you. There are clients that you're meant to serve. Now, it's not that all the clients that you're meant to serve are going to be in Kampala. Some of them are going to be in Barra. Some of them are going to be in Lira. That's why you see hardware shops in those different locations. Or else, everyone will be going to Hima to pick the cement. But there are hardwares in Chivoga, there are hardwares in Barra, there are hardwares to bring the service closer to people in different locations. And that should be the intention of you, or the business owner. It should be the intention of the company that you're running. Replicate yourself. Multiply yourself. And that's what is informing our level of growth that we are at now. Looking at franchises, looking at branches, in a way that there are many people who would like to lend money. There are actually some who are informally lending money. But we're looking at an angle of where we can even support them by franchising. Say, you know what, you have this vision of lending money, or you have this plan of lending money. You've been lending it informally. But now you can actually get a franchise of Janaki. And all you have to avail is that we avail with the system, we avail with the name that we've created, and you actually use your money and use our processes and systems to get returns on your money. Meaning that then you even make it easy for the stakeholders to enable your growth. But if you cannot do all this, if you're still struggling, if you're still not stable, if you're still operating briefcase, if you're still operating informally, that should inform your next step of registering that business. That should inform your next step of formalizing that business. It's only then that you can think of growth. It's only then that you can think of multiplication. It's only then that you can think of progressing to another level. So, in conclusion, our money lending journey, or my money lending journey, and of the journey of Janaki Holdings Limited, is the step of stability, the step of growth, a step of multiplication. So, I thank you for your time, and I pray that you also get to grow, that you also get to take an action, you get to take a step so that you can grow from where you're at to another level, where you'll get to create employment, where you'll get to create, to support as many people, where you get to inform economic growth because you pay taxes, where you'll get to scale up to a level of even being in different countries. So I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as already said, I speak a blessing over you and your businesses. I speak that the Lord guides you to know that you're not serving you alone, but you're serving a community, you're creating employment, supporting many families under you and many others. And may you get the vision that you deserve as a CEO, as a MD, as the owner, so that you can scale up and grow to the levels where people will say, you know what, I saw him at this level, I am now seeing him at this level, and I know that without so much time, without so much, I see him heading somewhere. One thing you should you should actually fight as I conclude is don't be dormant. Don't be stagnant. At least know that you've moved a step further. At least know that you've taken a step further. If you've been one person, employ a second person. If you've been 3 people, see how you can scale up. If you've been having maybe one trading license, now is the time to maybe register, get a TIN number, or perhaps take a step and get a numeral license. Gradually. Don't do things lump sum. You might not get at all these levels at one go, but the key thing is don't stop. Keep moving. And the Lord will guide you, and the Lord will cover you, and the Lord will support you. And who knows, you might be the next leading player in that industry. So thank you guys. Thank you everyone who has tuned in. And as I already said, I look forward to meeting you at the top. I look forward to meeting you at the top. And for those who seek mentorship or who seek support, I am open to that. You can always inbox and I'll see how I can help. Because to get to this level, we are also supported by someone, we are lifted by someone, and there's no reason as to why we should hoard the knowledge and the information the Lord has blessed us with, and which information we've also benefited or got from other people. The good Lord richly bless you. Cheers. Have a blessed day or an evening. Bye-bye. Love you all.